Hi guys, and welcome back to Cooking the Books with Heather. I decided this week that it was finally time to make an entree. So I looked into the Poole's Diner cookbook and I found buttermilk fried chicken with hot honey. My kids love fried chicken, but I hardly ever make it at home. So I'm a little concerned about it's usually messy, it takes a while compared to going out and getting fried chicken. And I can get great fried chicken from a number of places near here, but I'm willing to try it. So we're gonna be doing that today. The recipe involves brining the chicken, which really helps it stay juicy after it's cooked and not dry. And then breading and frying the chicken, and then making some hot honey, which my children won't eat, but my husband and I will definitely try. So come along with me. Okay, so the first step for Ashley Christensen's buttermilk fried chicken with hot honey is to make the brine. This is a really simple brine. It's just salt, sugar, and water, no other flavorings. So I've got everything pre-measured here in my water, and then we stir until it dissolves. This was, it's a lot of salt and sugar to dissolve in 4 cups of water, but hopefully it will eventually dissolve. This was room temperature water, and then we're gonna add some cold water. Got it all pretty well dissolved. It's not precipitating out when I look at it at the bottom. It might a little bit later, but we're about to add more water. So for this, she wants you to do it in a pot, just like I guess a regular size pot that will hold your chicken and 8 cups of water. I don't want to risk sloshing chickeny water in my refrigerator, so I have a large zip top plastic bag. This is I think 2.5 gallons. 1 gallon is probably not quite big enough for 8 pieces of chicken plus 8 cups of water. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour this in here. And then I've got 4 cups of cold water to sort of cool it down so the chicken doesn't get too much bacterial growth. And then I've got, let's see, 1 whole chicken that the nice lady behind the butcher counter at Whole Foods cut up for me. I was looking for a chicken that was didn't have huge breasts, that was sort of, looked like a chicken. Looks like I've got an interesting mix here though. So I've got a thigh, my breast, the wings are oddly cut separately, so that's interesting, but fine. Instead of 1 whole wing, it'll be easier to fry that way because wings are always kind of hard to get cooked correctly, so I guess that'll be good. I asked for 8 pieces, but this is what I got. That's cool. Let's see. Likes to stick to the bag. And the last piece, the last little thigh. All right. So that is it for the brine. I'm gonna zip this up, put it in the refrigerator, and wait 8 to 12 hours. So I'm gonna cook this tonight. Okay, so the next step, our chicken has been brining for like 9 or 10 hours now probably. And the next step is to fry the chicken. First we have to sort of batter it and fry it, and then we fry it. I've got my oil in a cast iron pan heating up. It's gonna take a little bit to heat up. I've got an infrared thermometer here that I use to check the oil temperature. But first we have to take the chicken out of the brine, pat it dry, and then put it in the buttermilk, and then we're gonna put it in this bag of, I've got a bag of, you can see some of it, flour and salt in here. This is what she suggests you do, a large bag, a large grocery bag. So I'm going to pat it dry with some paper towels, put it in buttermilk. This is again full fat buttermilk. I had some left over from the buttermilk biscuits. And then, man, this is kind of let it drain off. And then this is a little unwieldy. Put it into the bag with the flour. And we do this with all of the pieces before we shake it up. So I'm gonna go ahead and pat some dry, put it in buttermilk, so it can do it kind of more than one at a time, even though the suggestion is one at a time. I'm gonna do it. Some of the smaller pieces in there. So I'm trying not to get my hands all chickeny, but I don't think that I'm going to be very successful with that. Okay, so I've got 3 pieces in there now. I feel like grocery bags used to not be quite as large as they are now, the paper ones. This one just seems very big, but this is what my mom used to do when she was breading stuff. My mom is not Southern, and we didn't make fried chicken that often at home, but I know that we did a similar paper bag technique for something at home because it was very familiar. Got another breast here. Okay. Get all of our pieces in here. There's really just flour and salt in the bag. No other seasonings. She says she's a fried chicken purist, so, and the chicken itself has been seasoned pretty well with the brine. So I think that's our last piece. Yep. Move this out of my way. And then fold the bag over. And apparently get flour all over the place as we shake it up and get it well coated. Got a leak. Got a leak. So that's super fun. But the chicken is well coated. So I think what I'm gonna do is just open it up so it'll be easier to get it out. And we've made a huge mess. I'm gonna wash my hands a little bit. Check the temperature here. I think we're looking for an oil temperature of 325. So I'm just turning the heat up and gonna wait a little bit for that to heat up, but the chicken's ready to go in. Okay, so my oil is up to temperature. I'm using a neutral vegetable oil, which is what she calls for. What I usually use is grapeseed oil. So that's what I have here. We're at about 335, but it'll go down some when I add the chicken. So, just gonna shake off the excess flour and put some chicken in. Don't want to crowd the pan too much, so we probably will do a couple of batches here at least. And she says that thighs and breasts will take about 11 or 12 minutes. Legs and wings about 9 or 10. So I think I'm going to get a couple of thighs and a couple of legs in here before we're full. So we'll just let that fry. And when it's golden brown and done, you can use the thermometer to check the temperature if you're unsure, but I think it needs to be 165-ish at the bone. All right, I think it's been about 9 minutes or so, and the legs are certainly looking brown and lovely and done. So I'm going to go ahead and take those out. The thighs don't quite look done yet. So I've got a baking sheet lined with paper towels here to put them on when they're done. The thighs are almost, I'm going to turn them over. Yeah, they're starting to get browner on that side. That's good. I'm going to find the wing pieces and go ahead and put those in. Get started. For these, it's kind of more like a deep fry because they're so thin. I'm gonna rinse these off. They just had a bunch of flour stuck on them, bunch of the batter. And you can probably see, this is why I don't fry chicken at home very often, because everything kind of gets greasy around your kitchen, right around where you're frying. So. These have been an extra couple of minutes. Take those out and go ahead and put in our last two pieces, if I can fit them in, which I think I probably can, the breasts. I might have to move those wing pieces around a little bit first though. Taking up quite a bit of room. I don't think these wing pieces will take very long at all because they are they're separated, so. Almost. That's great. Almost overflowing here now. That's probably a bad decision. So, what's done is done. All right, I think we'll be okay. All right, just have to wait another 9 or 10 minutes. So I'm going to clean this up a little bit while I wait. These are just about up to temperature. We're looking for 155 on white meat and 165 on dark meat. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna fry something else in just a minute, so I'm not gonna turn it all the way down, but I'm gonna turn it down a little bit. Take these out. There we go. And we have our fried chicken. The breasts got quite a bit darker on the outside, but they were a lot thicker to get through, to cook through. Okay, so Ashley Christensen serves her buttermilk fried chicken with hot honey. I've got some honey here. We're going to put it in the pan. You warm this with some herbs and spices for about 5 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and get that warming over low heat on mine. I'm going to go for 3. Anyway, and to this we add some thyme, some rosemary, and 3 of these little tiny pecan peppers, dried chili peppers. I found these at Walmart, actually, in my area, where we've got a lot of Hispanic people in the area, and so Walmart actually usually carries a bunch of that stuff. If you don't, you might need to try a Mexican grocery store if you have one of those. We do, but if you're not in that area, you might not. But I did see that you can buy them on Amazon, and since they're dried, they'll ship very well. So probably any other pepper would work as well, dried chili pepper. These are relatively spicy. And then we have 1 crushed clove of garlic. And so I'm gonna go ahead and just heat it for 5 minutes over low heat and let the honey thin out and let the herbs and the garlic and the pepper infuse into the honey. And then she doesn't even strain it when she's done. She just drizzles it over the chicken with the herbs and everything in it. My children probably won't be eating that part because they do not like anything spicy, but my husband and I will certainly try it. So we let this go for 5 minutes, and then we swirl in some butter, unsalted butter. So just gonna let that go. Okay, my timer went off. I don't think I wouldn't say it's foaming. So what I'm gonna do is turn it up a little bit to about medium and see if it foams. And once it does, then I'll add the butter. It certainly has gotten much more viscous, less thick, more viscous, less viscous. Neither one sounds right now, but anyway, it's less thick than it was before. The honey is, so we'll see if it foams now. I can certainly smell the herbs in it. But it looks like it might be starting to get foamy, bubble up a little bit now that I turned the heat up. Smell that rosemary. Okay, now that it's gotten bubbly, I'm going to go ahead and add in the butter and swirl it. Until it melts. Turn it down a little bit. And there we go. That's the hot honey. Doesn't have too much spice to it right now, but we'll see. Hey guys, we just made the buttermilk fried chicken with hot honey. Beautiful, from the Poole cookbook. And I have to tell you, it's been a long day. If you've been noticing, I'm wearing the same clothes on this one as I was when we made the deviled eggs. It's been a really long day. We shot 2 recipes today, and fried chicken is just a lot of work when you make it at home. It's a lot of mess. Second time we're running the dishwasher today. Had to clean up all the oil off the stove. It's just not worth it. Now, the chicken was very good. The brine certainly helped. Everything was tasty. I felt like the skin, the crispy bits, were not as good as they could have been. I think it needed more salt if you didn't have the honey with it. With the honey, it was very tasty. If you had the honey on the skin, on the crispy outside, it was delicious. My kids, however, didn't want the honey on it, and my daughter, who loves chicken skin, just didn't eat the skin, which is kind of crazy. So, also the hot honey, it was warm, but I did not get any heat from the chilies in it. It was certainly very herbaceous. You could taste the rosemary and the thyme, maybe a little bit of the garlic. I would probably cut it up a little bit finer next time if I were gonna try to infuse more flavor into it. But it was really good altogether, but it was a lot of work. And there's a lot of mess. And I'm probably going to go down the street to the drive-thru and get fried chicken the next time we want it. Now I might put honey on my fried chicken that I buy from somewhere else next time. But really, sadly, not worth it in the long run. But thanks for joining us at Cooking the Books with Heather. We hope you will subscribe and continue following us. Thanks for watching.